Hi, Lusa. How are you? And welcome to the Catalyst Collective.
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, it took us some time, but yes, we're finally here.
Yeah, it's good we're here.
Yes. So I'll ask you to introduce yourself to our audience so that they can get like just a general idea of who you are and what you do. Yeah.
My name is Lusa Chisulo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a feminist, basically an advocate for women's rights,
Mm-hmm.
and something that's been in my work, whether it's been in my career or just even in my personal life, like that's the path that I've taken, and not like truly to say like, oh, it's a choice or like it's a path chosen, but it's just who I am. I think it's just always who I've been.
I see. Okay, I like that. So my next question going into that is you're very prominent on the Z Twitter, and I went through your profile, and it was a female African member of parliament saying, "Don't be a good girl because a good girl takes you nowhere." So I want you to explain why that is your pinned tweet.
I love Millie Odiambo for saying that statement.
Yeah.
And I think something that a lot of us should really take in the fact that we're constantly as women told how to behave and how to shift around people's feelings and coddle people just to ensure that they're comfortable while making ourselves uncomfortable. And I that she was trying to explain to us that always being good and trying to trying to make yourself so comfortable for other people isn't going to do you any good, and you should try to shift the boundaries and sometimes be a bad girl because that's what's going to get you places, and that's what's going to respect.
Yeah, I like that. And in that regard, we can shift to the next question, which is what gravitated you towards being like or identifying as a feminist? Let me say it like that.
Every time I'm asked this question, it's crazy to me because I feel like maybe for some people there was like a groundbreaking moment, and that's why sometimes I'm privileged, and I say this that I might have a little bit of privilege because for me, the reason why I believe I'm a feminist is because of my mom. My mom was an extreme feminist. She was a lawyer, an author, and at the time of her death, was regional coordinator for Women and Law in Southern Africa. And she was just always that person that was like very much women's rights. Like growing up, I didn't really understand. I was like, what's her passion and what's her drive for doing some of these things that seem so dangerous and should be in the papers, calling out politicians for sexist remarks, and would call us and she'd be like, I might not come home today because I've been arrested for that was illegally held. And it's just like seeing that. But as I got older, I definitely started to understand why she did what she did, and I grew a much bigger respect for her work. As I but even with that, I still drew inspirations from other people, especially Black authors and Black feminist authors. I mean, I read a lot of Black feminist literature. I get some inspiration from Angela Davis, from Toni Morrison, Bell Hooks, Audre Lorde, even Maya Angelou to an extent. So for me, it's like, and those are the things that I draw inspiration from, because not only are these women, putting out this feminist literature, it's also Black feminist literature, which is something that I also put a focus on, because not only is there feminism in its different specs, it's also how close it is to you, because I think I identify with Black feminists because they understand the kind of person that I am as a Black woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Then tilting back to Twitter, like the last couple of months have been very heavy, especially to be a Black woman. And so I wanted to find out your process when it comes to when Twitter is very toxic and the men are really doing their job to put us down. Like recently when there was that gender-based violence in South Africa. I feel like at times like that, I usually say, oh, this is too much for me. I'm going to take a break. So I want to feel and get a sense of how you feel when Twitter is too much and it's too negative. What do you do to take away from that space and say, okay, I'm protecting my mental health? So what are the steps that you take? I feel like young girls need to know when to be like, okay, yes, something horrible has happened, but how do I also protect my mental health at the same time when Twitter is being especially toxic?
I think this is a very important conversation to have because is something that we don't talk about how draining advocacy can be.
Yes.
It's something we're extremely passionate about, but sometimes it's very triggering because of the nature of the conversation that we're having. I mean, we're constantly talking about abuse. We're talking about things, maybe hash up some pent-up emotions for a lot of us and bring back memories that might not be so fond, and even just seeing other people be violated isn't the best thing to hear about all the time. And so I totally get how, and even the burnout in our work, in our advocacy work, sometimes it gets so draining that you're so tired because you feel helpless. Like I keep talking about this thing and a change doesn't seem to be coming. But I will say is, if you feel your mental health is being triggered, always time to take a step back and think about yourself and about your mental health and just recuperate and think about the bigger cause and come back when you're. I think that's the one thing I can say. Just take a step back in whichever way you feel, whether it's a hiatus, whether it's just look for a few minutes and just take whatever time you need.
Yeah.
Because, and sometimes I feel like these people that come out attacking us and saying all these things and come from a very sometimes uneducated point of view just to criticize, ridicule, and sometimes even the arguments are baseless. They say anything to hurt you.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you shouldn't respond to every dog that barks.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah,
because some people really want to get a response from you. They don't want to learn. They don't want to educate. They don't want to be educated as well. So I feel like sometimes we should pick our battles and just know when this is worth discussing and this is a person worth discussing or not.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Yeah, like when to know when to take a step back and when to continue the fight. I like that. So adding to that, I would like to know the challenges that you faced specifically being Zambian and feminist, because I feel like that's very niche, and I want like the young girls to be like, oh, okay, this relates to me because I'm from Zambia, and obviously you'd be older than the young girls, but they can still look to you as inspiration.
Right. So I feel like there's so many internal and external challenges as feminists because even internal within ourselves, there's a lot of back and forth. Even when I was coming up as a young person in the feminist spaces, there would be a lot of differences with people that still are culturally stuck in their ways, and maybe some feminists that are older and they don't understand your advocacy as a young person, and they're used to the kind of advocacy that used to happen way back when, and they don't want to learn new other topics that are happening in feminist spaces. But then I think that's something that we can work around and understand each other because we're all working for one cause.
Yeah.
But external challenges that we face, I think number one, I would say a lack of education. and a lack of sensitization on the issues of feminism.
Yeah.
Because you'll be very shocked when you get onto the internet. The first thing that people hear when they say feminism, it's like they don't even know what the word means.
Mm-hmm.
They just know they should attack.
Yeah.
They just ultimately know in their heads, oh, she's a feminist, and they make all these, assumptions and ideas and think that it's completely wrong about the concept of feminism, and they just use it to attack. And that's what I was talking about before, about baseless attacks. And it's just like, that is one of the core things, the fact that people are not educated on the issues that are happening.
Yeah.
And I think education also goes to the fact that even the people that we're trying to empower are not as educated, and they don't really know about feminism and the stuff that they face. And a lot of women, I would say, and I wouldn't be biased in saying this, I think there's no woman on this planet that hasn't experienced any form of inequality because of her gender.
True.
And it's so sad. Some people experience violations and inequalities and don't even realize it's happening, be it in the workplace, be it being catcalled, be it we take in so much that we start to analyze it and think that it's okay. And that's how some people don't identify that certain violations are just not okay. And so I think education is a big factor. I also feel like there is a drawback, and there's certain groups of people that are obviously, they know what feminism is about, but they want to change the narrative and indoctrinate people to think all types of things with different types of stereotypes and perceptions. And it's like those are setbacks that also challenges that feminist face, really, in the feminist space, because you're doing this hard work and there's people that, even women, unfortunately, that know what the cause is about, and they'll come and derail the message and say, no, this is this, and you guys shouldn't follow these people because this is what they're doing. They'll turn to this, and it's sad, really. I also feel like our public institutions are not as helping towards the situation. Currently, I think the biggest setback I can say is like the most current in Zambia is the fact that we used to have a gender ministry, and now it's scrapped and just, well, I wouldn't say just, it's been to a department in, I believe, the office of the president. What's very unfortunate for me in that regarding that is because I don't see much of what is being done. Maybe I come from an uninformed perspective, but I like momentum and the work that is being done. We can't really see much of it, as opposed to it have a gender ministry. And there's so much on now. I feel like the more the country develops, the more we're starting to see more and more violence on women and girls. I mean, it's in there, but it's like increasing, and the fact that there's a silence from, major players in the political, I feel like that's also a challenge for us, because we need, like, the government, we need other stakeholders to get involved if we really want to reach equality for everybody in the country.
Yes. So, in that regard, I want your final thoughts directly to young feminists and young ladies that are getting into the feminist space for the first time. So they don't know where to start, they don't know anything, but they keep on hearing this word feminism. So I want your final thoughts, your encouragements to them, just so they know that they're going in the right direction.
If I was to encourage someone in a feminist space who is young, I'd tell them, first of all, not to listen to what other people's view of feminism is. First of all, because feminism is something that you should understand and then learn on your own. secondly, I would say read a lot of books, educate yourself on the subject. Try to gain insight and look at what works for you and what you understand as feminism, not only as a young person, as a young woman, as a Black woman. I think most of us are Black in the country, but even as a person of color, and even to further contextualize it as a person in a third world country, what feminism is like for you, because you might draw inspiration from, like the way I said, I drew inspiration from, let's say, Bell Hooks and Angela Davis, but then like at the end of the day, I need to further contextualize it to fall into my perspective as an African woman in Zambia. With the different things that I am going through and the different volumes and the different experiences that I have in my country and in my country as a feminist. So I think that's what I would say. Try to the feminism that really speaks to you.
Yeah, I like that, and it really gives them like a starting point. So what you've done is you've given them where to start from, and then they can. It's now up into their arms to do what they can for themselves, and I like that so much. So thank you once again for coming to our YouTube channel and talking to us about feminism and Twitter. So again, thank you, Lusa.
Thank you.